Welcome, Nature Journal educators. I am John Muir Laws. I'd like to introduce you to Melinda Nakagawa. Melinda, say hello.
Hello.
Melinda is the host of the Monterey chapter of the Nature Journal Club, and is also a Nature Journal educator. Today, our Wednesday Educator Forum is not so much a class on how to do nature journaling, how to draw a squirrel or a toothpick, whatever it is that you want to draw or to write about. This is primarily for people who are interested in teaching other people how to do nature journaling. Each time we play with a little bit of a different topic, and that could be teaching on a large scale if you're a classroom teacher or a professor somewhere. You've got those sort of resources, but also if you're a homeschool parent or a grandparent who just wants to teach another a young person how to do nature journaling. So all of these ideas will be of interest and use to you. And it's going to be much more of a discussion between us than, say, if I am or Melinda is presenting a workshop on drawing marine invertebrates or something like that. So today's topic, what I'd like to do is to take a look at what sorts of resources would be helpful to have stuck in the back of your journal. I have in the past created some handouts that people can print out and paste in the back of their journal. And I'm working at updating those and actually making a printed journal that will have these things pre-prepared and stuck in the back of them. And as I do that, I'm interested in a discussion with other people who have been teaching or are interested in teaching nature journaling, what you think would be helpful as kind of an insert in the journal that somebody could use as a reference to help them be able to do whatever it is that they want to be doing with their journaling. What sorts of things would you like to have personally? What sorts of things would you like to have in the hands of your students? So, and then I am going to be working to create those resources and then upload them as free documents that people can download from my website, also to have in the back of a nature journal that I'm going to be also releasing. So that is going to be our focus for today. And let me see here. I want to make sure that people can unmute themselves, allow purpose. Yep, people can unmute themselves. Great. So there we go.
I can share.
Well, and also maybe before you do, just sort of introduce yourself and just sort of say, hi, I'm whoever you are. Let us know where you're from. And then we also, as educators, we're going to start to get to know each other. My goal is that within a few months of doing this, we all kind of know each other and we're like, oh, yeah, so we'll get to be friends.
So I'm Kathy. I'm from, live in Phoenix, Arizona area. I have a lot of different programs I run, anywhere from preschool to 12th grade, mostly homeschool community, but I'm kind of branching out. We're expanding. So I have a nature journal club. I have like a yearly program, all kinds of things. So really big into journaling and think it's important for kids. So at the beginning of the year on our program, we give the kids like 2 little laminated half sheets for their journals. One is kind of reminders like about the date and the weather and the location and kind of what to include on their journal entry. And then the other is just like sort of ideas. So, because I have a lot of kids that don't like to draw necessarily. So just sort of some ideas for them, like if you're not big into drawing, you can write, or if you're more of a mathematical person, these are the things that you can be doing in your journal, you know, taking measurements. So just sort of like a breakdown of the different methods of journaling. Like I have some kids that have like those little, you know, the new Polaroid cameras and prefer to take pictures. So I just kind of let them do whatever they want based on what they enjoy.
So Kathy, first a quick question. So you've got two things. One is a reminder, sort of like just how to initially kind of get the metadata onto your page. And then you have a second thing that is just showing people there's words, there's pictures, there's numbers. You can put these together in a way that your journal doesn't have to look like Kathy's, but they can kind of get something that is personal for them using those systems. Am I?
Yeah, correct. Yep.
Great. And how do you see people using that?
I mean, for me, we give them out at the beginning of the year for the kids, so they always have them throughout the year, and it's theirs to keep. Because we encourage them to journal outside of class as well. So when they're at home in their backyard, whatever. So I found for the kids, it's just helpful reminders because they tend to forget.
Excellent. Oh, and Kathy, are you listed on my website among nature journaling teachers and nature journal clubs?
Yeah, I just sent you an email and you.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that. I was looking through your website. I think you've got that a website of classes, right? And I like the sort of things you're up to there. Great. Also, if there's anybody else that is listening right now and you are a journaling educator and you want to be listed on my website as nature journal educators in each state or in different countries, or if you have a nature journal club that you've started and you want it on the interactive map, you just shoot me an email at johnmuirlaws@gmail.com. I'll get that and I will put you up into the system so other people can find you. Thank you for doing that, Kathy. Those are really helpful ideas. So what else would be useful, or what are some other sorts of things that you've seen people do, or you have developed, or you wish you had?
Hi, Jack. It's Carrie Lynn from the Bateman Foundation in Victoria. We have we have in our sketchbooks for our students that they utilize, we have some sample nature journaling pages to show that a journaling page doesn't have to be a beautiful finished piece of artwork. It can be filled with all sorts of symbols and marks and so on in any way that they choose. And then we also have some sample parts that we use for our activities, like here's a value bar, here's a sample of it, and then leaving them space for them to create their own. And then they can use that as a reference as they're working on their pieces. You have a number 7 value in your drawing. If you look at this object, what value do you see on this part? Do you have it in your sketch, and so on? So it gives them something to refer back to that they've created on their own as well.
Great. So tell us a little bit more about the value bar.
Mm-hmm. So we have, we basically start the little kids with a very basic 5 value bar, 0 to 5, 1 to 5 type thing. And then for the more advanced kids or the older kids, we will suggest that they try then a 10 value bar, or they go on to a graduated value bar so that they have so we have some that are just blocks of values and some that are a graduation of values from white to black, basically. And we talk about how to create those values without pressing too hard and damaging your paper, and kind of the tricks around getting the darkest values with, without what kids automatically go to is pressing really hard on their paper. So we talk about that as well with the kids.
So it's not in, I was first thinking emotional values, things that you value.
No,
Oh, so
sorry.
it's light and dark value. Got it.
Yes,
So
light and dark
there's
values.
a graduated value bar. And tell us what you're with that other page with the marks on it. Describe that a little bit more.
So we've got one, sorry, I don't have a camera on this computer, I apologize. So we've got one that's basically squares of 0 to 5 for value bars. So 0 is the white of your paper, 5 is as dark as you can get it without pressing too hard. And then we've got one, so it basically looks like a ruler that's broken up into segments. So we have either the 5 value bar or the 10 value bar, and then the graduated one is basically just the same size. It looks like a ruler, but they shade it in from white to black, but they get a very gradual change. So we're teaching them things like how to get a soft edge, to create it through shading or blending, however they want to do that. So it's a little bit of an exercise page and a little bit of having it there with them after they've completed it to use it as a reference moving forward.
All right. And you're saying that in addition to the value bar, there's another thing that you used?
So there's, yeah, we've got a variety of different examples in our sketchbook, but we found that it's important to have some samples of a nature journal page, especially because we're at in the Robert Bateman Gallery. A lot of the kids will see Bateman's work and think, oh my gosh, I can't possibly do that. So we show them, well, this is what, some of his artwork looks like, but this is actually what his nature journal looks like. And we, have some that have just scribbles in it and some that have more detail, and one where there's, we tell the kids, there's one there where it's a little splotch on the paper and Robert has circled it and labeled it krill juice. So we tell the story about how when he was drawing this bird, the bird barked on his page. So we say, well, isn't that fun? We're going to record that and we're going to mark that down. So if a bird poops on your page, you're going to mark that down too. So it kind of takes the pressure off and lets the kid realize that it doesn't have to be perfect. It can be just for themselves, and it can have all sorts of information on it.
Oh, that's cool. I like that idea. Having, that talk about kind of including kind of found objects on your page. The krill juice splotch from the bird. That's next level stuff. That's great.
Yeah, the kids quite like that.
Very good. Other thoughts or ideas? These are good. I see over on the side, people have suggested in the chat that things like rulers are going to be important, and that's a great idea. Having once I made a sheet with rulers on it, and I passed those out to teachers. And somebody got a hold of one of those, and they're using smaller journals. So what they did is they put that sheet on a Xerox machine and made a reduction of it so that they could fit it in the journals. That's always now become a kind of a cautionary tale about making printouts of sheets with rulers. Other thoughts and ideas? Oh, Pacific Plankton. Let's jump over to you. Let's jump.
Hi.
Oh, hey. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. So this is amazing. I'm really glad you're doing this. I'm Janai. I am Pacific Plankton. I'm a big plankton geek, and I'm interested in coming to this in a way right now, getting streamers on Twitch interested in nature journaling. So it's kind of an odd thing, but the idea that I thought for a journal, my son had this one that he got, it's like the Wreck-It journal, which is to make it not precious. And so having prompts that that allow you to use the journal and make it used as opposed to keeping it precious, I think is really valuable, because people get sometimes caught up when there's like a new clean white page. Making those marks can be intimidating, but the ruler, and not just a ruler, but like a really simple like scale bar with like just like centimeter increments. And the other thing I thought would be really neat, and I haven't seen your new book, I need to order it, but having a place for you to put in your own metrics. So like your stride length, if you're gonna pace out like how long out, how far around something, maybe just different ways that you can measure the world, so that you have that you have your own metrics, your own, I guess, what is it, body metrics?
Yeah, biometrics.
Yeah, so that you can relate to the world, you know, like, oh, this is, you know, it's 4 thumbs wide, right? And you know your thumb is 1.25 centimeters. So even if you don't have a ruler, you always have your thumb, right? So it gives you a tool to look at the world. Anyway, that's me.
I like that. I am still remembering that wonderful plankton observation field trip you organized for us by the edge of San Francisco Bay. When we get to play again, I'd love to do that again with you.
Oh yeah, definitely. It would be so much fun.
So just let me reiterate what the things I've got written down from what you said. You're saying you need a place, a prompt for people to record their own biometrics, in addition to having real measuring tools there on the page. So centimeters being often more useful than inches. So some real measurement tools and a place to prompt them to record biometrics, things like their pace and arm spans, digit spans, things like that.
Yeah, because you always have your body with you, you know.
Yeah, and if you don't, you've got bigger problems than difficulty journaling. Yeah. Great. Excellent. Oh, plankton. Fantastic. Does any other thoughts? Oh, so Yvette, tell us a little bit about your thoughts about powers of 10, and how what we might do with that. Kind of unpack that for us a little bit, if you would.
Okay, it was kind of just an off-the-wall idea. Has anybody here seen the Powers of 10 video from 1977-ish, whatever time? And so it's this idea that we might think that, that like, I guess that the way that we change scale is not always exactly what changing scale looks like. So it starts out with, like, you know, the visual of a picnic blanket. And then when you get to be at scale, perhaps, I don't know, 10 to the 10th power, something like that, it's the equivalent of being between Earth and Mercury's orbits or something. No, Earth and Mars's orbits. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but then that way, just like giving an idea, so that way, instead of, you know, you look at this one little thing and then you think, oh, you know, maybe, you know, 3 times that amount equals this one thing, when it's more like 50 times. I'm not doing a very good job of explaining this. But I thought maybe it could help. We were doing a workshop a while ago with Kate Rudder, and I didn't do very well, but it was going from close up to far away. So I was trying to draw close up elements of a rock. And then I looked at this one tiny little hole and then backed up a bit, so that now the hole is this big instead of this big, even smaller now. And now the hole, you can barely see it. And then it was going to become like the rock. I don't know, just if there's some way of demonstrating that to people so that they can be more careful about scale in their work.
I like that.
Thank you.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a really cool thought. And also just, you know, or even just zooming out to the range of the locator map. What level of locator map would be the most relevant where you are? I know Claire Walker Leslie does that a bunch, where she'll kind of zoom out, draw on a little map, like, I'm here. And that just geolocating yourself on the planet, in addition to the metadata of, here's, I'm at this park, but sort of thinking about like what level of mapness might be of use. Great.
Thanks.
Other fun ideas? Cricket chirping. Lynn.
Hi, I'm in New Jersey, and I teach preschool through grade 4, and I'm looking to actually get them start journaling this year. And one of the things I think that would be useful is potentially having some like bird shapes that kids can help to identify what does a dove look like? What does a raven look like? A lot of them they're familiar with, but having something that is a shadow, those silhouettes can be powerful, as well as maybe even tree shapes. And I don't know if we can do regional ones, like, a Northeast one, a Midwest one, and Pacific Coast type one. I don't know how much of a difference there is between those, but it might be interesting to be able to show the differences between them, or have regional journals. That would be, I think, useful.
The old Peterson field guides to birds had that wonderful page, and it was just silhouettes. And it was just so easy to scan and read. And then you realize you can actually you can identify all those different birds just from their silhouettes. Yeah, that was, that's a really cool idea. And I like your idea of maybe that might be something that would be good as a download, so people could get whatever regional one is theirs. Regional. As a starting place of, here's a bunch of the usual suspects that you're going to have in your system. So folks, tell me a little bit about graph paper and your thinking about that in the journal. That is interesting to me. Tell me, so how would you want to see that used? And if there was a journal that was published and some of the pages could be graph paper, would that be something that you would want, having some pages graph paper, some pages not? I'm thinking of creating a journal where, I'll show you the old one. So this was this is the journal that I had produced, and I tried to think of characteristics that would be useful. So it's got in the let's see, how do I, no, not that way. There we go. Well, let me jump over to my document camera. So what I tried to do is think of what are the features that I want to have in a journal, and then I am going to share the visualizer. We're going to see if this works. Hello. A little bit blurry. Less blurry. Are we good?
Yeah, it was just trying to focus. It's good now.
All right. So in it, I had so I had paper that was kind of, you listen to that, kind of a heavy stock paper, so it could kind of take a beating with watercolor, and was sort of a smaller size, easier to bring with me. And So that was my the basic book. Then towards the back of it, I have a section of toned paper. So this is mole activity in the school courtyard. The an upside down page. Can you believe that they printed this upside down in the book? And so I find it fun sometimes to work on toned paper. And then I had this section in the back where I put things that I thought at the time might be kind of relevant and useful. So ideas about kind of the putting in some metadata, making lists, writing diagrams, drawing, a little bit about cross sections and slicing things up, sort of frames and zooming in. And then I had a number of suggestions of activities that people could do in their journal. So this would be a journal activity and kind of an example page from my journal of what that might look like. In the next page, I have, this is sort of the quantification page. There's an inch ruler over here. On the other side, there's a centimeter ruler. Beaufort wind scale, protractor, degrees of arc. Here's a little biometrics spot with places to put in your boot length, and 1 step equals 10 meters equals. And then a value scale. And these were suggestions I had about kind of little mini lessons that I thought were kind of high percentage about learning to draw. A little bit more on that: depth, color, composition. There's a place to test your colors, but I found people weren't really using that very much. And finally, some reference illustrations about the structure of mammals, the structure of birds, gaits of animals. And these were some things that were for drawing plants and insects, some reference pages that I thought were useful to that. After that is an index. So if you're at Pierce Point looking at Tullio between page 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, I would draw a little block in there with showing the little Tullio. And then I just wrote in my own page number. So let's go over to page 6. Yeah, there's Tullio. So that would be for this section here. And that allows me to kind of quickly scan what is in that journal. That's the, oh, look at this. This is kind of along the lines of the krill juice. This is poo paint. So this is real marking from the fresh elk scat just blurred onto my journal there. I don't think I want to touch that right now. But along the same lines there, that's some authentic elk poo paint. So that was what I had developed. And the book went out of print. It sold well, but apparently with all these different parts, you know, different types of paper and these sorts of things, it was a nuisance for the publisher to develop these things, to print these things. And so they took it out of circulation. But they're finding that there's a lot of people growing interest in nature journaling, and they have decided they want to bring it back. So I'm trying to figure out what are all the pages that I would like to have put in here. And I also want to then take those pages and have them as kind of updated downloads that people could take from my website. I'd like to bring you now over if I could, so actually just sort of based on seeing that, does anybody have any sort of other thoughts, suggestions, and ideas? Let's start over there with Lynn.
So you were talking about all of the different parts that were in that journal, and it was fantastic. I loved it. I don't know if you're familiar with a travel journal idea, and travel journals have multiple little books inside of them. So this book is inside with a piece of elastic. And so this page has got, you know, graph paper on one side and it's blank on the other side. And this has got like 30 or 40 pages. I don't know how many pages are in there individually, but you could have a travel journal set up. This is a little leather bound thing with elastic around it, that you could have one that's graph paper, one that's watercolor paper, one that's all of the journal background information, you know, all of the reference stuff. And then a person could then develop essentially their own journal with all of that, with the reference stuff in the back. And then you can also design it with a little, like this one, I have a pencil pouch in it. You can have pouches of all sorts of different kinds and stuff that connect in with that piece of elastic.
Is there a specific company that makes that?
I can find, this is something, there is a company, I got this on Amazon. You could get everything on Amazon, right? So I wonder
if I prepared if I had a set of these inserts, I could contact them and see if they wanted to create a set that, you know, that they could put into their journals. We could also then on the website have something that fits the size of the travel journal. What are the dimensions of your page?
Let me measure quick. This is 4 by about 8 1/4. It's probably, I don't know, A1. If it's European, I'm not sure. It's because the whole page, if you put it out straight, is 8 1/2 wide by 8 1/4 tall.
So an individual page is.
So that's going all the way across if it's double side.
Oh.
Is it refillable, Lynn? Is that
it is? So
okay.
Here, let me show you.
Yeah, and my daughter has a journal, I think similar to that. It's like leather bound and you can unwrap the binding, I guess, and then.
So this is one individual book.
Gotcha. That's cool.
And then you find wherever your center point is. This is the piece of plastic that holds it in. And you can either hold it together with elastic between the books or through the end of the book. You just wrap it.
So for an individual page in that, what are the dimensions of it?
The individual page, if I just do this half side like this.
Yeah, a half side.
Is 4 1/4 by about 8 1/4. I don't have a metric ruler right here. Because I'm sure it's something even in metric.
Okay, I'll look into that. That's cool. Refillable journal, create an insert that people could use. I like that idea. Yvette.
Thank you. Just sort of going off of the idea about, we were talking about graph paper. I had an idea that maybe sort of like with the way that there is with the appendix, there could be one of a page that could be cut out, and it could have graph paper, but graph paper with different bounding boxes around it. So one could be like a bit longer and skinnier, maybe one can be a bit smaller, one can just be like half. And so that way people might get some different ideas about how to use the graphing paper. So maybe one is used like for landscapito, maybe another one is used like if you're doing a different landscapito or a tree, but that way gives people an idea of, or alternatively, like there could be a page similar to that, but with just like different whatever those things are called, frames. But I was thinking, because one thing that you taught me that really helped one day when we were talking about trees is you taught me the value of grabbing your notebook, kind of like holding it out to the side, and then looking at the tree and then holding it so that the tree sort of lines up with your paper, you see. And so then that way, if you have the graphing paper, it makes it even easier to do that, I think. So that way, and then plus then you get your numbers involved and you can see like, oh, interesting. So the trunk of this particular tree is actually a lot shorter than the foliage part of the tree. Just an idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to say too, with the graph paper, you know, we've used it for keeping track of data. So if they're journaling how many of different species of birds they see or whatever, they don't have to try to hand draw that on blank paper. They have some graph paper available to use.
So, excellent. Okay. Very useful. So would it be all right with folks if I show you the sort of next generation of what I'm thinking about for these back pages? So I've been kind of trying to rework those and try to get what's the highest percentage stuff. I have, so here's my constraint. I have a total of 16 pages. And with these 16 pages, I want to get the most useful stuff in the back of a journal. So what you're looking at in that previous one, that was 16 pages back there. Which pages are the best? Which are the ones you're like, ooh, yeah, I really want to have that one. That one, not so much. I thought I was just like dialing it in and just like, and just boom, I've got it. And then I realized that sometimes when dyslexics do math, I get interesting results. So I had created 18 pages. And it has to be 16 pages because when you're making a book, you take a big sheet of paper, you print that, you then fold it, and then when you cut it, it turns into units of 16 pages. Those are called signatures. So it actually, so I have a hard break at 16 because of the size of a signature. That's a large piece of paper folded and cut. So I've got 2 extra pages. All right, and I'll show you what I have, and I'd be very interested to find out from you folks which of these you're like, nice, not so much. That one, gotta have that, okay? And so you weighing in here will make a difference in my final product because I have till the end of this week to send in my final thing. All right, so this
Jack,
is...
do you want people to like maybe raise their hand on the video screen and then we can get a sense, so you can get a sense, because if everyone unmutes to say yes, it'll be a little bit hard to hear.
Yeah. So do you want to explain to them how to use the reaction shot, the reaction buttons?
Yeah, there is a reaction button. So if you go down to the bottom of your screen, if you're on a computer, right where there's the participants in chat, there's a button that says reactions. And if you, I don't know how quickly it goes away though, Jack, once we press it and then you move on to another page, but you might be able to, we can try it out to see. So you can give a thumbs up if you like it. Can everyone find that? And I'm not sure how it works on your device. I don't have mine handy, but I think that you should be able to access it on, if you're on like an iPad or a phone.
Right. So can you see a page right now that says Thinking Like a Naturalist?
Yes.
Right. So this is a preview of what I'm doing. So it starts off with just something about questions and asking questions. It gives, I use these different prompts when I'm out in the field. I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of. And sometimes I also do, could it be? That's sort of my naturalist mantra. And that helps me kind of think about the importance of observation, questions, connections, and then then constructing explanations is different than making observations. And then also a reminder of when you're asking questions, the who, what, where, when, how, whys can be also repurposed to kind of get you to ask different kinds of questions. So this is about asking questions and thinking. All right. Now let's go to this next page here, sorry, I'm having a hard time getting it. Centered for you. There we go. This next page, these are all different nature journaling activities. Remember in the previous journal, I had those examples that had a journal page next to them. I've now got a lot more activities that you can do, little journaling projects, and a brief description of what you can do when you are out there. And this, I thought, would also be useful for teachers, where they could say, oh, like, you know, just sort of a reminder, oh yeah, we could do that little event comic thing. We haven't done that in a while. Everybody, you know, the teacher could either read that and just sort of remind them of another journaling activity, and then describe what to do to their students. Or if all the students had these books, you could say, hey, let's do that. Or go out and choose one of these activities and do that in your book. But I find sometimes just having a list of different sorts of things that I can do gets me to think in a different way. Each of these little activities gets you to frame and interact with the same phenomenon or organism in a very different way. Then I've got this little thing here on using words, and some thoughts about that. You know, spelling is not important, and just a little kind of little prompt here. If people are kind of thinking about kind of handwriting styles and want to develop a hand, what might kind of inspire that. Remember, as you're looking through these, I need your help to help me decide what to take out. Whoops, whoa, please don't do that. Come back, thank you. So this over here is about using numbers, about counting, measuring, timing things, estimating, some strategies with estimating, and then how to visualize your numbers that you're getting through stem leaf, or a little color graph, what you think would be the most helpful way to do that.
Hey, Jack, can I just interrupt for a moment?
Yeah.
All of this information is really awesome, and I wonder if you can either put it in a simple format just for the book that you print, because I don't think students are going to read all of these words, and it looks like it'd be really useful for the teacher actually to have it in a teacher's handbook, like you have in the teacher's, you know, the two books that you have, and the teacher can introduce these subjects and doesn't necessarily have to be in every student's book. Or that because of the complicatedness of the printing, having all of this as a maybe pamphlet that you can put if you were to do, you know, those multiple inserts, so that the one that's connected to the journal itself is a page that is easy to see and, you know, has maybe some clear samples without so many words. And then just the meat of it, it is left to the teacher to actually engage with the students to teach. That's just a suggestion.
All right, so yeah, this stuff definitely will be something that somebody could download and put in there. So you're saying that fewer words.
For the purposes of putting in a journal for each student.
Yeah.
Like, I think the words you have there is really valuable and is important, but I think if you want it to be, if you're limiting the number of pages that you can put in a journal, and you really want it to be like a quick, you know, these are the handy things that you can look at to get ideas on what to put on your journal page. I think something that has bulleted points, or that has like some drawings, like you had showed in your sample book, some really great pages of, I can't remember off the top of my head now, but, you know, maybe the ones that that didn't have as many words, like how to do a cross section, how to do a zoom in, zoom out, just components of what you would actually put on the page that might be helpful.
Yeah, I was gonna say for like younger kids, I think the visuals are really good.
Like these are great.
Yeah, like just less words and more bulleted items with lots of visuals.
Let's see here. So this one, it's very similar to the last one. I've updated the little biometrics thing so that people could either do it in imperial or metric units. You just circle which one you have. I recommend metric. And then in the pictures section, I have ideas like you're saying, you know, here's what a cross section can look like. Section views, putting in icons and arrows and bird song and maps and you know, looking at things from different angles. So these are you know, ideas. I recommend to people that they use words, pictures, and numbers in their journals. And so there's a little kind of booster for each of those. Here's some thoughts on the words. Here's some for the numbers. Here are the ones for pictures. And then for drawing tips, I've changed that page. These are the things that I now think are the kind of sort of the biggest high percentage points if you want to improve your drawings. And put on one page together.
I think the intention is this is not meant to necessarily teach the students, but that it's just a quick reference sheet,
Yeah.
right?
It's a reference sheet and it's a reminder.
Right, because the teaching would be done with the teacher, hopefully.
Right. And the audience is not just a kid with a journal. The audience is also the person who's a journaler, but wants to have something to kind of look like you know, you're out there in the field and I don't like how things are going and what are some big suggestions to kind of improve.
Oh, got it. I thought this was for students. Okay, so it's
so this is for everybody who wants to have a journal. Then here's more. This is more information on kind of big drawing tips. You know, cross contour lines. And then the final part is a bit of reference illustrations, bird shapes, showing the different sort of plumage areas, a little step-by-step of kind of what were the basic shapes that got you to these guys, rotating ahead to 3/4 view angles. So all those about birds. These ones about mammals, sort of big ideas on constructing a mammal, and the gaits. When animals' legs are moving, you can never really kind of hold them. You can't really kind of get them to stop. So it wasn't until Muybridge made stop motion photographs that we actually got the proper positions of horses' legs running. But fortunately, across a lot of different taxa, they use the same gaits. So you could use those, you know, these positions would also be the same thing that a deer would do. And then these are ones over here on the right side for things that help you kind of get the spacing and alignment of petals on foreshortened flowers, and how things foreshorten, how to draw curving leaves, and some surprises of the foreshortening that happens with those. Table of contents. And then the back page, I'm still developing, going to have a bit of text here about growth mindset, sort of falling in love with nature and moving towards stewardship. And then also a little example here that just has a jumble of all these different elements put together on one page. So that's the document that I'm currently working with. And it is 2 pages too long. And so maybe what we could do is, as we are, hold on a second here.
Jack, how many pages were the table of contents?
2 pages.
Is that Is that necessary? Like, could we, you know, do our own table of contents? Seems like it's like, you know, 2 precious pages that are filled with, I was typing just now, so I didn't see, but it just was like columns of numbers.
Yeah. So yeah, that was for the one where you get to draw in your own box. These pages are drawing the elk. And so yeah, if these 2 pages were to disappear, then that would free up my 2 pages.
You might just have an instruction of like, here's a great idea of just, you know, doing an illustrated table of contents, you know.
But that would then have to be on a separate document and not part of your book.
Or at the bottom of that last page, you know, table of contents, use the next 2 pages for your table of contents, you know, as a prompt. If it fits on your last page.
Yeah. So this is the last page in the book. I mean, this part here is the last part of the book.
It's in the back of your booklet. Wasn't there another page with a daffodil and the close up, and it was?
Yeah.
Isn't that the last one?
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. That's right. That's
the back cover.
Yeah. This one will be.
That's great.
Inside the book. So the page on this side would be the hard cardboard cover of the book. This would be the last paper page in the book. And then here you'd be looking at the cover, the inside of the cover of the book in this gray space right here.
So these pages that we were just looking at would be at the beginning of the book or the end of the book?
It's stuck in the end of the book. So I think that when you open up your journal, you want to kind of not be met by my ideas of what you can put in a journal. You want to have your own journaling and stuff. So this is an addition that so it's an insert at the back of the book of things that you can do.
Okay.
Let's.
Yeah, because the table of contents would go in the front of a book.
Or just to maybe consider I can't have some of them split in the front and some in the back. In order to keep the signature together,
right?
It has to be all in one place, and so
I understand. It's not that you need to type it in there, but to instruct folks that if they wanted to do a table of contents, that they would save the first 2 or 3 pages. Like that's what I do for my journal. My very first page is empty and I leave it blank and I start journaling on the second page. And then I put a table of contents. When I finish my book, I list all the things that I've seen for the first 2 pages. So you wouldn't need to print anything out. It might just be something in the back of the book is an instruction of an idea of how to do a table of contents like you had in your last edition that you showed a picture of.
Mm-hmm.
I know that would take some space, but maybe if you streamline the wordy sections that could go in there. That would be great.
So maybe what we can do is just kind of quickly pop through these, and I will, I'll put up a page and we'll just kind of get people's feedback. I want to kind of hear from a lot of you people out there of what you think about it, what to change. Does this stay, go? How important is that? Why don't we just start with this one? This is page 1. Anybody, you can use the comment bar, the chat area to type in things. Does anybody else have any comments, suggestions, or ideas about the relevance or importance of this information as something that would be printed into the back of the journal? There's this. It's a lot of words. It's also a bunch of different activities that you can do. Something that I think I have been hearing from people is that they wanted lists of different journal activities that they could go out in the field and do. Do you want that in your journal? Do you prefer the version with fewer activities with the color picture of them next to the activity, or this that has more activities and no examples? So.
Hi, Jack. This is Kate Maynard from Washington, D.C. I'm just going to throw in, I think you're going to hear opposite opinions. Just I've been reading the chat, and the only consensus I see is that this information is great, especially for older students and adults, and that the low-hanging fruit of streamlining this for you is to simply delete those 2 pages of the table of contents and then incorporate a suggestion to do it elsewhere. That's just my 2 cents. So I'll mute again.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you.
Jack,
Right.
can I comment as a person? So on my journal, I mean, I actually, your first page, it has too much words. I just wrote out in my journal that little sticky thing. I mean, that note that you said has, I notice, I wonder, it's just a little too big. Maybe if you could put it in as a box, or I mean, I have it as something that I can just glance at. And this is too much to look at. I mean, it literally is it is the first page in my journal. But this, as you present it, as you have it, like as something that you print out and you can stick in your journal, works better than this, because it's maybe the notes need to be a little bit bigger. The I notice and I wonder, those need to be big, and then less more like it was before, at least for that first part, because I think that's the most important. I mean, that's the part when you go out, you want to always be thinking about and have in the front of your mind. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Jack, you already have that simplified on your website. You have it as a downloadable that I've used with my students. It's the I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of.
It's perfect. I mean, it's just so good. And yeah.
Yep, Heather, I agree with Heather. If you just take that and put it in there,
Okay.
and with the 6 interrogatives, you could do the same thing, you know, just simplify the words, because it's really hard for me, honestly. When I look at the page, I just don't want to read it because there are too many words. And for someone, you know, you want it to be something quick they can glance at.
Great. So short, so no read, glance.
So, hi, Jack. I notice that the first few pages you have are more like a textbook, and that the final pages are more like a journal, like a nature journal. And I think that the difference between the pages at the front here, the thinking like a naturalist, is lovely, but it's not presented like a nature journal, or would maybe present that same information, I guess, is where the too many words on.
Yep, I hear you. I hear you.
That's great.
Any thoughts on handling this sort of stuff? So, and tag any things that you type in the invitations to discovery, so that way I'll know what page you're talking about. So here, words and numbers. Any typed comments or comments from you are welcome. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Forgot to mute, so sorry about sneezing in everybody's ear. Social faux pas there. So this is the start of kind of quantitative tools.
You're using a lot of space for the Beaufort Wind scale. I wonder if, I mean, when you do like in art, when you do a value page, you know, you do like 1 to 5. is 1 to 12. I mean, you could
yeah.
do a smaller Beaufort, and you could even put in wind and maybe cloud types or something that introduces more. But if you wanted to shrink things down, that wind scale that's just a thought, because then you could put in not just wind, but maybe also other atmospheric stuff.
Yeah, Jack, we're not going to be nature journaling in Beaufort 12 or 8. So, I mean, to be realistic, if you want this to be something that maybe is something that's useful to someone who might be nature journaling, you're probably only going to use Beaufort 0 to 5. And if you did it in a graph, I've seen graphs of Beaufort wind scale where it has just a little, just the number of the Beaufort, the estimated wind speed, and then what it might look like on the water. That would be super helpful, because if you saw a little image of what it looks like on the water with like smooth or little wavelets or big white caps, and then what it might look like on a flag on land, if the flag is slack or if it's kind of blowing. I think those pictures would be really helpful. That's actually what I've been wanting, is I was going to create one myself, because I'm sitting outside and watching my neighbor's flag flapping, and I don't have an anemometer, and I'm trying to figure out how to estimate the wind speed. And so I'm kind of like collecting that data ongoing so that I can, start to understand it. But if you had a little graph, you can make it smaller and not take up the whole page.
Cool. All right. And I agree that should you be Beaufort 12, you probably shouldn't be out nature journaling anyway.
Yes.
One of those things is wind whips journal out of your hand. Let's see. In pictures here, first thing on ways of using pictures in your journal.
I love the frames and icons and arrows. I get a lot of my students are really taken by that, because I think it's the visual that makes it more appealing and quick to get information when it's a picture. So some people are asking how do I do an icon? So maybe I like keeping that in there, the little visuals.
Mm-hmm.
Jack, I think that these 2 pages are really inviting, and all the illustrations that you have really go with the topic and give us the information we need really quickly, which is what we're out there doing, because we're doing a nature journaling experience. We don't have a lot of time to read. We just need the information right away. So you did. And I also think this captures your sense of humor a lot more than the other pages do, which makes this whole experience so incredibly endearing. Is that wonderful spirit that you give to us through your way you present this beautiful field of nature journaling. And when it's all type, we can't get that. We don't get the immediacy of that. We don't fall into the space that I know you're trying to create until we get past all those pages of type.
So those are a little bit more too didactic over there.
I think so, for what this particular document is.
Yeah, I hear you. I think that the example we just saw on Beaufort, you sort of having a picture graph within a reasonable wind scale, be much more useful than. Also, a lot of those things, you really are getting into the fine details of what foam is doing on a large open body of water, which is great if you need to set your sails, but it's me less relevant for most of us. That was Admiral Beaufort. It developed that system a long time ago to help ships set their sails. What about these drawing tips? Thoughts and ideas here?
I have one idea that I didn't mention earlier, but still want to mention it. And you did do a really good job talking about or showing examples of shapes, but you didn't really talk so much about all the different types of shapes that may be used in making up a bird, like shapes that are curving, shapes that have one straight edge to them or 2 straight edges. A little bit more detail, I think, about when they look at an animal, you know, and they're going to try and draw it, or a bird, or whatever is out there in the field, just a sense that, you know, things aren't just one shape. They're made up of many, many shapes that come together. And I know I gave you a copy of that book that I did. And if you look at that too, I think there is a good section on the different kinds of shapes and the different kinds of lines that are there in nature. And then combining those to make these different shapes would be really helpful. And you're welcome to have that stuff.
Well, thank you.
Of course.
I was gonna suggest for the, I can't totally read it, it's really small, but for, I think it's the depth, or somewhere on there you're describing the foreground and background. Maybe having that be a little more visual. Like, I know when I teach art class and I'm teaching landscape, you know, I have a picture that has, you know, this is your foreground, this is your background, this is your whatever. I lost my train of thought, but
yeah,
maybe making that
I'm
more
with you on that.
visual.
Actually, I have visuals for all of these,
Okay.
but this I could get in a few inches. The visuals would be about half of one of these pages.
But if you're taking out those 2 table of content pages, you have 2 more pages to work with.
No, actually, I'm 2 pages over right now what I can possibly put in the book. So this isn't. I'm trying to figure out what to change and how to do that. Yeah, 2 pages definitely have to be removed, and then I have the rest of this content to kind of condense or to play with in that space.
Could you do, like, you have that image of the darks, the midtones, and the lights, maybe combine it. I mean, you could do darks, midtones, and lights, but in the same image, you could also show foreground and background. I mean, you can show that in the foreground, you're going to have darker stuff, and it's going to get lighter in the background. I don't know, it would be combining things so that at least you're just using one picture.
Interesting thought.
Jack, the pictures that you have for these, the depth, I think it spans like 1 whole page in your Laws Guide to Nature Journaling and Drawing.
Yes.
That is a really great page. And when you went over it on your Thursday or Tuesday workshop, I got so much out of that. So that I think once you go through and learn it, then if you have a quick reference, then it just jogs your memory. And then because when I look at these words, it's just, I don't know, I just don't even want to look at it. I don't know why, but my gut feeling is like, so like having the pictures as samples will, at least for me, if I was using this, it would be really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it doesn't have to be a whole page, but, you know, select maybe 3 of those concepts that you think would be most important in, you know, as a quick reference, knowing that we can go to the full book for expansive information about anything.
Yeah. This feedback, by the way, folks, is very, very helpful to me. Thinking that this owl, more finished illustration, ought to go and have some things more in process in that space there. Thoughts about any of these other elements or things that are playing on this page?
Well, this underneath the contour line, this image that you have, it has like dark lines, and I mean, you could in this image show the darks and the lights, and maybe put a value scale in and talk about foreground and background. That image would be a good one.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing I see is I really love the page layout idea. I had wanted to put it in my journal. This blue is it's really light to see.
Yeah, I think on the real thing, and when I hold the journal up in front of me, it is easier to see. But I agree that on this screen image here, it is really kind of dropping out.
Okay.
But the printed version that I have next to me here, those lines do show up nicely.
Could I make a comment on the reference illustrations?
Yes, please.
So I may have a slightly different approach to nature journaling than a lot of you do. I'm a doctoral student and I'm working on how art can facilitate science education and research. And so I have the opportunity to work with a lot of graduate and undergraduate students in biology as well as researchers in biology. And so one of the things that I've been focusing on with them is identification so that we can make illustrations in our journals or in our field notes to be able to then later identify a species. And so I think it would be, and maybe it doesn't quite apply for this, but maybe in a future project, if you could have lists or diagrams of characteristics that are important for identifying certain groups of organisms.
That's a great idea.
With amphibians and reptiles, you could do like skin texture and limb orientation. With birds, you could definitely focus on like color and feet and beaks. And, you know, just maybe a small list or a small diagram that covers a couple different large groups of organisms in order to sort of give people something to focus on while they're doing their illustrations, as well as a tool that they can use later to then identify everything that they drew.
I like that idea. Mm-hmm. So currently, when I'm sharing my screen, I can't see who's talking. Whoever just gave me that that suggestion, I'd be very interested to find out a little bit about the research you're doing for your dissertation. Could I request that you, after this, just get in contact with me sometime? I'd love to have a conversation more with you about your research.
Yes, absolutely.
Great, I'd love that. But I like your idea. So you're saying, you know, what if you're looking at birds? What are the features of birds, or you really want to kind of dial in on? When you're looking at mammals or identifying a flower or a plant, what are things that you definitely want to notice?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Jack,
I don't.
Oh, go ahead.
I don't see it in here, but I saw someone put a Google Doc and showed how they set up a journal page, and I really like the idea that they included poetry. So I feel like this is something that's just getting people to, you know, to express themselves in that way. It's just something you don't see, and I think it's important to encourage kids to do.
I agree. In this thing here that we're not reading,
Okay.
the poetry of the place of the moment, I say observe and record the details of a place using I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of, could it be? Then look inward and reflect on your experience and feelings. Write a simple poem inspired by the place. The poem does not need to rhyme or have a specific structure.
I think in the Google Doc, it was just even simpler. It just said something like write 12 words and then see if poetic, write down 10 to 15 adjectives that describe the specimen, weave this together to form a poem about the species. I just thought it was easy to read.
Yeah, Jack, it's what you have in your opening the world through nature journaling. You have it's really simple in there. You have some examples. I think something like that would be better than a full text block paragraph. And then maybe like a tiny example of a poem that's made from a list.
And what page is that on?
It's in a section, so it's like the 10 analogies on page 66, I think, was something like you collect, it reminds me of, and then the poetic forms is page 70.
Also, even if you just went to that Google Doc that someone showed, I just thought they did a really good job, and you don't have to read it. You know, it's not as much to look at.
Yeah.
I just posted the link again. I kind of took that from a lot of different resources. I think Project Wild was where I got some of it from as well, but I just wanted to condense stuff into like a half sheet so it could just fit in the kids' journals. So that's kind of what I come up with, and I've been using it for, gosh, probably like 5 or 6 years, and the kids seem to like it because it's just,
Oh, we just lost you. Can you hear me?
sorry, the kids seem to like it because it's just simple and you know, just kind of jogs their memory on things they can be doing.
Great. Look forward to, I want to see that once I am out of the screen share view here.
So like, could you just have one page that's like the main theme, and it has your I notice, and it has a couple of other things like that Google Doc, and then you move into the meat, because maybe it would provide you, it would kind of help you move into and get more interested in all these other things.
Oh, so repeat that suggestion again.
I really liked that Google Doc page, and I also just really love your I notice, I wonder. It's just something that's very easy to look at. So I feel like the first page should just be something that hammers in, this is the idea of nature journaling, and then from there you can flip into the more specific, but it's almost like a table of contents, you could think of it, or something like that. Does that make sense? Something that prepares you for what's to come.
Yep. And this, or are we in agreement that it's kind of cool to be able to do, but if you are going to use up this real estate for this, maybe not worth it?
Agreed.
Maybe some of this nature journaling mindset, growth mindset sort of thing, and this could be integrated with that first page on what are we doing here.
Yes. This is really nice.
That's a great idea. This is a much better beginning, I think, than an ending, because it brings so much together.
Great. All right. Well, this has been really right. Combine last page. There. Well, this has been very useful to me, and I appreciate everybody hanging in here. Now I have to go over here. And we've got the Google Doc is that new link. Yeah. Very clear, very nice. I like what's going on here. All right. Does anybody have any other thoughts or ideas about? I think this chat is going to be really useful for me. Oh, that's great. All right. Does anybody have any other thoughts or ideas in this area? This topic will be where I see we are 20 minutes over. So thank the 22 of you are still on the call for kind of going overtime and helping me vet this and kind of develop this. I'm going to take these ideas, incorporate them into this document as best I can between now and Friday. And I will have a free version on my website that anybody can download. I'll try to make that into the dimensions of the travel journal as well. And then perhaps take part of this and just sort of have it as a separate sort of pocket download for a teacher. But maybe I should think of some of this content as what is the sort of thing that a teacher might want to sort of just have as a little kind of quick reference, like, oh yeah, I can do that, good. And what is the stuff that you want actually in your journal? There we go.
I wanted to say that any times that you've also had some of the stuff as stickers has been really helpful for me too. I know that that's different from the inserts, but like I remember the first ever field trip I went on with you, you gave us these stickers, and it helped me so much just to have something to just stick in there. So I'm already thinking about ways to take everything you're sharing and like print it out on stickers, just like to have that just to stick right in. That's how exciting this information is to see.
Great.
Yeah.
And what I'm thinking of, you know, a lot of those sticker sheets are currently something where there's a big sheet with, 8 of the same thing repeated. I'm going to jump over here to Heather's holding something up interesting.
It's just, I really think that I notice, I mean, that's the heart of nature journaling. So that sticker is, I mean, it literally is what I put in the front of all of my books, because this is what I want to keep in my mind. This is what I'm thinking about. And, so I think that that's one of the most important things.
Great.
But you could also put a spot for someone to put their name, and I have like a drawing cheat sheet. So, you block things in, you do proportions, you do alignment, the flow, negative shapes. So that to me is also, and then the first page of all of my journals is this is what I have. These are my colors. These are my color crayons, color pencils. So that tells me, and then I probably should have a value chart too.
Great. Well, this is really, really, really helpful. My friends, thank you very much. Again, these educator forums, we're going to have different topics each week. I'm going to take your suggestions from this and try to make to make something that will be useful, and then we'll have that as a free download for you. Please join us for future Wednesdays, where we can explore all sorts of different aspects of this. The more of us that are out there working together and sort of finding out what works to connect people with this way of being in the world, we want to share those ideas as freely as we can. I would love for us to have sort of an open source community where we exchange those ideas, and together we do the best we can. So thank you all very much for being here, and take care of yourselves, be safe, be kind, and see if you can get a chance to get out there and journal in nature.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you. And Melinda, thank you so much for helping us manage the logistics on this.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you both.
Bye, Vea.